What's up guys, welcome to another video. It's been a long time. Honestly, it's been because I haven't had much inspiration or motivation to film these videos. It goes into a bit deeper than surface level. I was a little bit lost emotionally and I didn't really know what to film, or kind of was just trying to sort out my own shit. This is a really shitty intro. Currently in Cape Town in South Africa on one of my favorite trails, which is called Crom River, and I wanted to film this on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 because it's trending right now and I might get some views. No, I actually genuinely want to express some of my thoughts on this camera because there's all sorts of information about it online, and including that I put out when I first got the thing. Like many other people, I got caught up in the DJI marketing, thinking this is going to be the perfect camera for me. Traveling around, adventuring, smooth footage, good slow-mo, larger sensor for darker areas if I'm ever at a night market or anything like that. So as you know, I purchased it and it has been sat in my drawer for the last 2 months, if I'm honest. I'm here in Cape Town filming professional kite surfers and action, so I'm using my Canon R5 a lot and my Canon C70, which as you might know are more professional cameras, and therefore I haven't really had any need for this camera. I thought I would use it for some behind the scenes stuff, but honestly it's definitely too fiddly for behind the scenes footage. There's nowhere really to mount it. It's been one of the biggest struggles that I've had with cameras and trying to film what I do for a living. How do I film it without it getting in the way of my actual job? So I just decided I'd bring it out on this hike today, but from the first moment that I went to grab it, some of the issues were highlighted to me straight away, because on an hour and a half, 2 hour hike in this blazing hot African heat, you kind of don't want to be bringing a backpack with you, otherwise you're going to have the sweatiest back ever. So you want something that's going to capture the adventure in as high quality as possible without being a hindrance. And I have a Insta360 X3. I also have my phone, I have a GoPro, so I definitely am blessed with options, and that has kind of made it a bit of a curse as well at the same time. I almost left this at home, but I thought I'd make a video instead and see really how it is to hike with it for a couple of hours in the heat. We're gonna go and find a swimming area here. It's gonna be well needed by the time we end up walking through here, because it's so flipping hot, if I haven't already said that 5 times. We are following the stream. This is my friend Emily. Wearing a full jacket. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to speak to you about my thoughts on the camera and why it has sat in a drawer for ages. And I think ultimately it comes down to the fact that this is not a bad camera. The image quality is great. You know, the options are really good. It's a fun camera to use. It's pretty compact. But when you have so many other options, this thing kind of isn't the best at any of those things, and actually the fact that it's quite delicate can make it a bit of a pain in the ass to bring with you. It's not waterproof, it's not very rugged. Yeah, so that limits its applications. And if you're like I am, you didn't buy the Creator Edition, adding any extra microphones adds a little bit more bulk to it and makes it less usable as well. Fortunately, the DJI Mic 2s have come out, which automatically connect to this as well, which is probably going to be a solution. But yeah, I guess my overall thoughts are it's not really that much better than anything else out there. And similar to my last video where I said your phone is probably better, I got a lot of backlash from people talking about how there's no way the phone is anywhere near as good as the 1-inch sensor on the Osmo Pocket 3. Yes, that's true, but whenever it's quick and always with you, then in some respects the phone is better. It kind of goes back to the point that I made in my last video where one of the good things about this is the fact that it has a memory card, which means that of course you can plug it into your laptop a lot easier and get the footage, as opposed to with the iPhone, which is a bit more complicated with AirDrop, and I'm not sure if with a 15 you can use the USB-C cable. The other thing is the battery life, and because it doesn't have replaceable batteries, it just has that little add-on battery pack, which I don't have. That's also a consideration, because I know this thing is going to run out here. Hopefully it'll make this whole hike. It's about an hour out and an hour back, and I'm not going to film the whole time of course, but it's definitely a point. I reckon by the time I get back, it was 70% when I started, I reckon by the time I get back it's going to be at pretty much dead. It's quick to charge, it charges to 100% in like 14 or 15 minutes, which is good, so that kind of eliminates some of the stress. But if you don't have a way of charging when you're out here, for instance, then you're a bit out of luck. The other thing that I've noticed as well is face tracking is really awesome, especially as you can put it in one place and it will track you, and you could set up different shots where you walk into the frame and stuff and it automatically detects your face. But when you're vlogging like this, as many other people have commented, that it can be a bit distracting when it follows your face. So I've kind of turned off the face tracking. It's kind of just nice to be able to move the camera where you want it to. And even with this off, there's definitely a bit of a delay because the gimbal slows the movement down. Yeah, you could consider that either good or bad. I'm not really sure whether that's a positive or a negative. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts. We're going to continue trekking up this pathway, and I'm going to pair this with a little drone that I have. It has the DJI O3 unit, because there's some really cool spots up here as we go along. So let's do a little bit of a cinematic session with this thing to see really what it can do, and we'll catch up afterwards. The Osmo isn't so great when you start to get into
the wet,
watery environments. Good, but it's darker here. Let's see how well slow motion does with the bigger sensor. 4K 120.
Oh my god, I want to go swimming here so badly.
Tracking my face.
Yep.
Alright, so then if I move, I guess that's our little conclusion here. But I guess the only way that you can track yourself doing something like this is by using the phone app. For me, it's too much of a hassle, so I'm just going to frame it up. It's bloody hot. And just like any scenario where you're trying to run and gun film, you just want something to work. So I'm just going to set it and frame it and then jump in the water. We should do one of those comparisons. What I think I look like and what I really... As you can probably tell by the change of location, the battery life on the Osmo Pocket 3 did not last the whole duration of the hike. I think part of it was due to the fact that it was so bloody hot. Just from filming that little talking head bit earlier, the camera was so hot to the touch, it was almost burning me. I didn't get any heat or overheating warnings, but I'm sure it had an effect on the battery. And I could definitely feel it, of course. Another thing that was highlighted to me by adventuring with this thing was how terrified I was the whole time that it was going to break if I slipped and I kind of put my hand on it. This thing was going to break. I guess that's no different to really many other cameras, except if if you're talking about action cameras. But also having to put it away in this little thing again, it's such a small thing, right? You just think you just turn it off and you put it in this case. But it's a bloody pain in the ass, you know? Just turning it off, waiting for the gimbal to kind of reset itself, putting it back in, and then the next time I'm gonna pull it off, turn the whole thing on, and then compose your shot again. It's just, I just don't think it's there yet. I wish if there was a way to make the gimbal stronger, or the locks on the gimbal a little bit better, that would be good. The other thing I noticed as well is when it locks up, the gimbal locks together, it is magnetized, but even with this case on, if it's rolling around, if it's like moving around in your pocket, the magnets kind of disengage and the lens of the camera gets exposed to whatever else is in your pocket. So that's not ideal either. And then finally, something I'm noticing right now is the fact that the screen is about this far below the lens, and therefore I have a tendency to look away from the lens to see how I'm being composed on the screen, and can definitely tell by the direction of my eyes which I'm looking at. Of course, now I'm looking at the screen and now I'm looking at the lens. So maybe it takes a bit of adjusting, but that's actually maybe not as prevalent on some of the action cameras where you have the screen right next to the lens. Saying this though, some of the things that did stand out to me is that in that quiet environment of that hiking situation, the onboard mics were actually incredible. It captured my voice really, really clearly, and I really noticed the difference in the audio with the directional mics. So when I moved the Osmo to the side, my voice wasn't as clear. Now it'd be interesting to see during face tracking if I moved the body, if the audio would still stay the same. I'm not sure, maybe we'll have to do a little test there. I'm pretty hot and I came here to take a bit of a cold plunge, so that's what I'm gonna do. It's trending right now, why wouldn't you? And another good thing is that the camera managed to track me even whilst dunking in the water. That's pretty awesome. So to conclude, I have to say I'm still pretty confused as to whether I like this camera or I don't. I think ultimately I do like this camera, but I'm still confused as to how it's going to fit in my life. Using it right now, I find it really enjoyable, but practically, I just still don't know where it fits. I'm pretty sure that if you buy this camera, you will for sure like it, and you'll probably use it a lot more. I think really my biggest problem is the fact that I have too many options. Like I said before, the Insta360, X3, the Canon R5, the GoPro Hero 10, or the Canon C70. Those are all options, and the iPhone. Those are all options I have. I'm almost too privileged for choice. Well, I am privileged for choice. And it makes this camera kind of not an immediate go-to. That's my conclusion. I'm not trying to tell you to buy this camera, to get an iPhone. I'm just trying to give you some information about my experience using this camera. Leave a comment if you agree or if you disagree, but try and keep it nice. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.